feel it? Can you hear it pounding? Scratching at the walls. Itching to be set free. It's changing you.
Is that it? Are you sad, Alan? Are you afraid? Do you have regrets?
It's turning you inside out. Lies a truth only the dead can understand.
All right, Questers, we're back with another episode of Questions with Creators, and we have Erik from Fast Travel Games with us today. Thank you for coming on the show.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's I'm excited for today because there's new information that you can talk about now, and there's a trailer out for the brand new game you guys are putting out. Can you tell us a little bit more about this World of Darkness VR game?
Yes, so the game we're making at the studio now in Stockholm is called Wraith, the Oblivion Afterlife, and it's a VR game. It's the first time we bring the Wraith brand is brought to VR, which is super exciting for us. Wraith is an IP within the larger World of Darkness, where there's some other really famous IPs like Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf the Apocalypse, or basically take place in the same world. But Wraith is it's a horror game. It's a horror VR game. It's narrative driven, and it builds on the stuff that we've done as a studio in our previous games.
So now, I know that there has been a lot of mystery surrounding this. There was a teaser put out a little while ago. And it all takes place inside of the Barclay Mansion. And you say it's a horror game. What kind of horror can we expect really to jump into? Let's get right down to the nitty gritty. Are we going to be running from things, hiding from things? Are we going to be jumping out of our skin?
So what we're aiming to do is we're not going the cheap jump scare route. Yep. We want to build tension, and hopefully we'll make you really scared. You can't half-ass a horror game, I feel. So hopefully we can make you really scared. You'll be playing as a wraith, as a deceased person, reborn as a wraith. And you won't have any weapons. You'll have some ways to defend yourselves. But the best strategy is always to just stay out of sight, stay hidden. Don't let them see you. Don't let the specters see you. You will have some defenses,
okay.
But you're really, you're not on top of the game.
So you're pretty much you're like a dead person coming back as a wraith in this game. Does that bring any special abilities with it? Things that we might be able to do inside of this game that we wouldn't be able to do as a regular normal human being?
Absolutely. So the game Afterlife is based on Wraith the Oblivion pen and paper role-playing game, and there's tons of really interesting and fun abilities in that pen and paper game that we looked at, and which ones can we bring into VR, which ones make the most sense in this kind of horror game. So we will let you walk through walls. Which is a very, ghosts walk through walls, obviously, right? Which opens up a lot of avenues for the player. We'll let you use Wraith Grasp, so you can lift things with the power of your mind and stuff like that. And then there are some more subtle stuff, like you have all wraiths have sharpened senses. They can hear things and see things from long distance if they just concentrate. And we use this to let the player find their way around the mansion.
Okay.
So those are a couple of examples.
Okay, cool. Well, that sounds awesome. And now we're going to be kind of hiding, I get the sense from, or staying away from these other beings. Can you talk a little bit about the specters, maybe about what we can expect? Maybe you don't want to give away too much, but what are we going to have to really be on our guard and hiding from these things? And is it going to be one of those things where we do not want to come face to face with one of them?
Eventually, you're going to have to come face to face with them, but you definitely want to stay hidden. You want to. It's a stealth game. It's about finding ways to trick them, to lure them away, to make them investigate things, to let you through. And you have a couple of tools at your disposal to do that. But it's very much about using, in VR, when you crouch, or depending on what you want to do, it's just in this enormous. It's not. I wouldn't say fun, because it's actually really scary. but peeking through corners, hiding, and under a couch, looking up. Can it see me? Has it moved away? And the specters are. I mean, they're also spirits of the dead, but they've basically lost all touch with their humanity. So they're just these really, really fearsome powers that you have to, maneuver, I guess, around.
Well, having watched the trailer that you guys just released, I can say that I'm excited to play it, but I'm also terrified to play it, because there's some really creepy looking stuff going on inside of this mansion.
Yeah. And we're just showing a little bit of that in the trailer, of course. Which
makes me really excited. And another thing that makes me excited about this game is that you went the avenue that I believe is best in this type of VR, in a story-based game. How important was it for you to bring a deep story along with these mechanics to virtual reality to really tell this in the best way possible?
I mean, it's very, very important. And I think this is by far the most advanced storytelling we've done in VR. I mean, we pride ourselves on working with, strong narratives and basically we're all about player presence, and, really immersing the player into the world, letting them interact with tons of stuff, and, using that for all kinds of interesting gameplay. But the story here is, there's a fairly large cast of characters, and there's a central riddle, I guess, in the game about finding out, what exactly, how did you get here, and what can you do to fix things? It's all because all World of Darkness games and Wraith's, our game specifically, is very much about personal horror. You're not necessarily a nice guy, and you get to live through that, and so okay, so if I did all these horrible things, can I do something to make amends, or how can I get myself out of this trap that I created for myself?
So as far as kind of jumping back to the specters and them connected to the story, are they more than just individual creatures that exist there? Are they tied into the story as well?
They're very much tied into the story. I almost said every living creature, but every dead creature in the game, or every dead character in the game, is very, very much tied to the story. And this includes actually one of the main characters, one of the most prominent characters in the game, is a character called the Shadow. So in the Wraith lore, what happens when you die, your soul basically gets split in half into the psyche, that's you, that's the player. But then there is also your dark subconscious that gets a life of its own. And this is called the Shadow. And the Shadow will be with you all through the game, potentially helping you sometimes or working against you sometimes. You can't really be sure, because it has its own goals. And it's a very big part of the whole Wraith lore and the whole Wraith idea, the world building in it. And that is also going to be really interesting to see what people make of it.
So it sounds like this is going to be a lot of pieces working together to create an overall bigger story that people, I assume from the trailer, from what I've heard about it, it's going to be one of those stories that you don't really know what's happening or why you're doing what you're doing until you play through the entire thing.
Yes, I mean, we gradually reveal
Right.
stuff, but
Yep.
VR and VR storytelling for me is very much about letting the player drive it. One of the large, the thing that is tricky about VR storytelling, but also one of the big freedoms, is we can't do cutscenes.
Yes.
We can't take the control away from the player. So we really have to do all the storytelling around the player. And that, to me, is basically the deeper the player digs and moves around, and the deeper you get into this mansion, the more you will discover. So it's very much based on what you do.
Which I think is an amazing part about VR, because you can actually play through a VR game once and go back through and play through it again and find different things, because so much can happen around you, and it's based, what you see and the story you're seeing is perceived by what you're paying attention to.
Exactly, yeah. And it's completely possible to not see everything in one playthrough in our game. So because, there are tons of details, and those details might not mean very much to you until a little bit later. It's that, and I really like that. Making the player draw connections themselves.
And is there anything specific about this project that just makes you say, "Wow, I'm actually working on this project"?
So there's so many things. I've been in game dev coming up on 20 years, and I've always wanted to build a horror game, and I've been close in the past, but finally we're doing it. We're doing it with a great fast travel team. I love working with them. It's an amazing team to work, and everybody brings a lot of creativity to it. So I feel, maybe if I built a horror game earlier, then I wouldn't have had this team. So I think we're really doing something special together.
Yeah. So one thing, I was just checking kind of my notes. I've got a few things I wanted to ask about. And one of the things that I noticed in the trailer, and you mentioned it earlier, was kind of hiding behind things and staying hidden from different things. How has that evolved, being in virtual reality, as compared to a normal traditional horror game, where you can put your back up against a wall in a traditional game, or jump inside of a closet, but you can't necessarily duck behind things? How has that really felt, putting it into virtual reality?
I mean, it is it just is. First of all, it's a very intuitive thing to do for the player to hide. So we've really tried to stick to that. The things you do intuitively to hide should be the things that make you hidden. But it's also a bit tricky, because in a flat screen game you can just say, well, you're hidden,
Right.
But here it's like, yes, the head is hidden, but what is he or she doing with her hands, right? Maybe they're hiding behind something, but their ass is sticking out behind the couch. It's what part is it? So there's tons of stuff you have to think about there, and it's not necessarily so that the more realistic you stay, the truer and better it feels. But you have to find a balance there, but also hiding behind stuff, hiding inside cupboards, etc. All that is very physical. You rush to something, you open a door, you step in, you close it behind you. Everything like that, just it really elevates the hiding and the stealth gameplay, I feel.
I imagine it'll get your heart pumping when you're running away from something trying to hide.
Yes, I mean, we have people on the team that are actually too scared to play tests. So I and that again comes with a certain balance. The whole game can't be completely terrifying. We have to balance that, the highs and lows, because there is a story we want to tell as well, and it's really a story. It's a story about personal horror. It's a story about discovering things about yourself, or the main character of the game in this case.
Is there anything specific that you're really itching for people to know that you're allowed to talk about?
I mean, we're releasing this game on basically all the major platforms. It's a cross-buy title on the Oculus platforms. I think working with Paradox, who are the IP owners for this, is really fun, and it's fun. Basically, I think I really like how the larger World of Darkness community basically works together, and it's been a great experience.
Yeah, well, it sounds like an amazing game, and I know that there is no specific timeline as of yet, but it is coming out next year, right?
Yeah, early 2021 is what we're saying.
Okay, awesome.
And we'll be more precise the closer we get to the finish line.
Okay, yeah, well, I am extremely excited to check the game out. I know a lot of people have mentioned it to me, and they're very excited for it. Is there anything specific, either story-wise or something in the game that you might want to mention before we wrap things up, just to really get people, maybe tease them and get them really excited about it?
The game takes place in the Shadowlands, which is like a mirror kind of our world. It's like a mirror dimension almost of our world. And I really, I really want to see how people interpret the stuff we put there, because the Shadowlands is a very specific. It's a part of the larger underworld, and this is a great introduction to Wraith the Oblivion for those who want to be really want to see more. But it's also a game where I feel that people that know a lot about Wraith the Oblivion, they should be able to recognize and spot things and say, like, I read about that in 1996. Stuff like that. I really hope we can do something really cool there.
It sounds wonderful. It sounds like a great mixture of storytelling and terrifying gameplay. So I'm very excited for checking it out. And for more information, I'll get links in the descriptions down below. You can jump over to the website. The wish list pages should be live now as well, right?
Yes, they should be live now as well.
Yep. So, and I'll also put a link down to the trailer as well. You can check that out. Thank you so much, Erik, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I can't wait to check out the game.
Same here. Thank you so much for letting me be here.